I got my head out the sunroof. I'm blasting our favorite tunes. I only got one thing on my mind. You got me stuck on the thought of you. You're making me feel brand new. You're more than a sunshine in my eyes. I'm feeling like this might be my time to shine with you, with you, with you. I got my head out the sunroof. I'm blasting our favorite tunes.
Hi, welcome to In the Middle and Out of the Box, episode 12. This is going to be a really fun episode. We're going to get away from some of those really tough situations and subject matter to something fun and light this week. This week we're doing Gumbo Limbo. For all the residents that know what Gumbo Limbo is already, this is going to be exciting because there's a lot of new and upcoming information that's happening at Gumbo Limbo. And for all of our new residents that are brand new to the area, Gumbo Limbo is a natural resource for this area. It's a natural park. It's got a rehab facility for sea turtles. It's got aquariums, and it's all right here on A1A in Boca Raton. So it's a fantastic gem that's kind of hidden away, and hopefully you guys will find out more about it. So what we did is I made arrangements to have a interview and tour with the manager of Gumbo Limbo. Her name is Leanne Welch, and I wanted to have her bring us through all the different areas of Gumbo Limbo, explain to us what's new, what's up and coming, some specific information on how things work there, the sea turtle rehab, and she was fantastic. She went above and beyond. So this is a really great episode. She is just a wonderful person. She's been there since 2016, and she was more than hospitable to us and was a great host. And I hope you learn a lot of things. So what I'm going to do this week, the program's going to work a little differently, is I'm going to play the interview at length. Then I'm going to come back. I'm going to play a couple more little snippets that we filmed also in addition to her interview. And then we're going to go into the brand new and exciting tower drawings that I have that are subject to change. And I'm going to show those. And then we're going to do our usual science and art at the end. So stay tuned. It's going to be a wonderful time. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy this wonderful tour of Gumbo Limbo. Good morning. We are here today with Leanne Welch, the manager at Gumbo Limbo, and she's here to help us answer some questions we all want to know. So first I wanted to ask you, hi Leanne.
Good morning.
Good morning. Is there anything new or upcoming that's maybe being planned or in the works for Gumbo Limbo as far as new exhibits or new things happening?
There is always something new happening at Gumbo Limbo. As far as construction, we are planning to upgrade our bathrooms and our entrance to make them ADA accessible. It's not particularly exciting, but I think it's super important. And we're also planning to update the parking lot and add more ADA accessible parking, as well as increasing the accessibility to the building itself, which is super important to me.
Okay, well, those are really important. I think, a lot of us think they're not exciting, but they're very important. Yeah.
It's not exciting, but it's super important.
The infrastructure itself. As far as this year goes, have you seen an increase in turtles or numbers or disease or plastic issues, or what's your take on the overall summary of the turtles this year?
Sure. Well, our team here at Gumbo Limbo monitors 5 Miles beaches in Boca Raton for turtle nesting. And so the nests, we had the 3rd highest year on record as far as nests, but unfortunately one of the worst years on record as far as hatch success, meaning we had the 3rd most nests ever, but only 60% of the eggs in those nests hatched. So it was...
Was that due to heat?
We had a very hot, very dry summer, and unfortunately it was just the turtles were overwhelmed in their development, and many of them didn't develop at all.
Oh, that's very sad. I know that this, year was the hottest year on record, right?
Every year.
Just keep breaking records. That's unfortunate. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little tour. We're going to go to some sites on the property, and then we're going to check back in with you in a couple minutes. We'll see you soon.
So this exhibit has actually been here, been part of Gumbo Limbo since 2011. It used to be in the gift store, which is kind of a weird place to have an educational exhibit. But we moved it out to the Nature Center, I believe in 2017, and it's gotten a lot more, I'd say, use. A lot. It allows us a lot more education for the people that are visiting. And behind you, Allison.
Talking about turtle totals.
Sure. So we update every day during turtle nesting season, which starts in March. So turtle nesting season here in Southeast Florida is from March through October. So these are our numbers that we finished with last season in 2022. And on March 1st, 2023, that's all going to go to 0. And then, so every time you come to the Nature Center, you can see how many nests are on our beach.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much. Okay, so here we are on the boardwalk. We just took a lovely walk, and it's beautiful. It was just recently renovated and extended, but we're here in front of the tower where the old tower was. So can you tell us a little bit, Leanne, about what the plan is?
Sure. So yes, we are at the site of the old tower. And if you lived in Boca anytime before 2015, you probably have fond memories of climbing to the top and peering out, ocean on one side, Intercoastal on the other. You remember it was very wavy. It was like a thrill ride going up there.
Yes, I remember.
Yes, but it was a 30-year-old wooden structure in the woods. And we like to joke the only thing holding it up were the termites holding hands.
That's comforting.
So it was taken down for safety reasons, and the plan was to build it back exactly as it was. And those are the posts you see behind me. So those were put in place. They were set in cement, and then we thought, someone had said, "Why isn't this going to be ADA accessible?" And we thought, why isn't it going to be ADA accessible? So we back to the drawing board, and project just went out to bid. A contractor has been chosen. I can't give you a construction start date because I don't know, but it will have ramp, 700 feet of ramp all the way to the top.
With hopefully some stop gaps in there.
Yes. It's built to code and with the stairs as well.
Okay, great. So it's going to be ADA compliant now, which is great. And kind of going along with the theme of the restrooms and everything else, we're kind of trying to really improve the infrastructure and so forth. So that's great.
Yeah.
All right.
And most of it, our building itself it met the code of the time. Our building was built in 1984.
Right.
Codes have changed. So
and you do have a lot of ramps already.
We do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's great. All right. Well, great. And here's a better look if you can see. And it's great to hear that they've actually picked, a company now, a vendor, and hopefully they'll be getting that going soon. I know a lot of people are interested in that. I will be sharing the design with you when I get it, and we'll be putting it into the podcast. Okay, so we're going to get a little sneak peek.
Yeah, so on March 11th, which is our annual Sea Turtle Day celebration, we are going to open the classroom as one of our indoor exhibit areas. So if we don't have a class in here, the door will be open, and here's where our visitors can see our resident animals, get a close-up look at the beautiful stained glass, and we'll have some other things in here.
So great. So why don't you tell us what this would be about that day?
Sure. So as you can see, our room is currently set up for our first graders that are coming here on a field trip. So when it's set up for a field trip, this is what the room's going to look like. When the field trip leaves, we're going to open this room up for visitors to come in. They can take a peek at our animals. And here we have hermit crabs. We have a snake. Well, we'll have 2 snakes. And some of our other exhibits, like we have an exhibit on different types of teeth that animals have, as well as our manatee. Manatee bones.
Fire manatee.
Yeah, I know. Turtle skulls, turtle shells, and on the back wall is our stained glass exhibit, which was created in 1991 by a local artist, and it depicts what the island would have looked like before the arrival of the Spanish settlers.
Wow.
But on Sea Turtle Day, we'll have presentations in here as well as some hands-on science.
Okay, great. It's like almost like a touch tank kind of situation, or
you'll probably never find a touch tank here.
But be able to interact in
yeah, so get some close-up close-up experiences with the animals.
Great, thank you. Okay, so can you explain to us what this area is?
Sure. This is our sea turtle rehab facility, and this is a unique partnership between the City of Boca Raton and the nonprofit Gumbo Limbo Coastal Stewards. Our sea turtle rehab facility opened in 2010, and we treat about 100 juvenile to adult turtles and thousands of hatchlings every year. So this is our treatment room, and this was one of the things we were able to do when we were closed for COVID. So prior to that, all surgeries were done off-site.
Really?
We didn't have a sterile surgical suite, but we were able to partner with the City of Boca Raton and get funding from our nonprofit and able to expand this room and make it so that we could do all the treatment, all the surgeries right here on site.
I'm sure that makes a big difference.
Makes a huge difference. The care of our animals, level of stress on our staff, makes a big difference. So the yellow thing, that is an X-ray. So they have everything in here: X-ray, anesthesia, and it looks like they were giving fluid to a little washback turtle just a few minutes ago.
So I think everyone's familiar with the tanks if they've been to Gumbo Limbo. Do you want to explain to us a little bit about what they're about and what they're for?
Sure. Well, the turtles we're looking at right now, the ones that are looking at us, those are Kemp's Ridley. And so the Kemp's Ridley, they're kind of our special guest visitors. They are not found in our waters generally. They don't nest on our beaches. But this was, they spend their summers in New England, eating all the crabs and the lobster and everything else we all go to New England to spend our summers for. When the water gets cold, some of them miss the message to swim south into warmer waters. And what happens is they get cold stunned. These are reptiles, so they're cold-blooded. Their internal body temperature depends on the outside. And so when the water's 30, 40 degrees, that's what their temperature is, and they stun. They get too cold to move, and they're found floating on the surface of the water.
So similar to like iguanas when they get cold and so forth.
Yes. So without rescue, they would drown. And there's hundreds of very hardy volunteers up in New England that actually wade out in the water and scoop up these little guys, and they bring them to the New England Aquarium to warm them up. And as soon as they're stable, there's another group of volunteers that load up their private planes and fly them south. So we had 12 visitors come to us in December. We still have 9, and they're all healthy, and we're hoping to release them very soon.
Okay, so do you just release them offshore here then, or what do you do?
So that depends on what the state Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission tells us, and I believe these guys will be released in Port Canaveral, Brevard County area.
Okay. Give them a little head start.
Yeah, exactly. So the Kemp's Ridley turtles are exciting and it's rare, but the most common reason turtles wind up in our sea turtle rehab facility is because of human interaction. So we have a lot of turtles that are hit by boats. We have a lot of turtles that are entangled in fishing gear. And then we are one of 7 facilities in the entire state of Florida that's certified to treat a disease called fibropapillomatosis. Big name, we abbreviate it to FP. It's very similar to the herpes virus. And what we find is it's in waters that are impacted by pollution more than anything. So, and
Are you seeing the numbers increasing of that, or?
and pretty much every juvenile green turtle we find, and you can see kind of the way the tumors grow. So this one, I think she had surgery. I don't see the tumors anymore, but we're able to remove them surgically, and we hold on to them for a few months to make sure they don't regrow, and then we release them.
So here we are in your mangrove tanks. Can you give us a little idea about the different tanks and how they're set up differently?
Sure. We have 4 large outdoor aquariums. Each one is set up to represent a different coastal habitat that you'll find right here in Boca Raton. So right here is our mangrove tank. We have some live red and black mangroves growing in the middle. And this is very similar to what you'd find in the Intercoastal Waterway just behind Gumbo Limbo. So all the types of fish that you would find in here. If you're an angler, you would recognize those sheep's head that are in there. Look downs, a lot of silvery, smaller fish in here, very similar to what we'd find in the mangroves. We also do have one resident loggerhead sea turtle in here. Oh, yep, there's Kane. Yeah.
Okay, so now we're in front of one of the aquariums. Could you explain to us what this one's about?
Sure. This is our deep reef tank. And if you were scuba diving off our waters in 60 to 80 feet of water, these are the types of fish and the type of structures that you would find. All the coral in here is artificial. It's was made by an artist. It's all fiberglass, but it very much represents what you would find just scuba diving offshore. You see angelfish, there's rock beauty. What else is in here?
Right?
Yeah, quite a few parrotfish, blue tang. Here's our triggerfish. She owns this tank.
It's
We
great.
do have a very large moray eel in here, but I don't see him right now.
All right, now we're in the shipwreck tank.
Yes, this is our shipwreck tank, and it represents an artificial reef habitat. Florida has the largest number of artificial reefs off our waters in the entire world, and these are the types of animals you would see if you went scuba diving in over 100 feet of water. So you see a lot of the bigger fish. We do have our 4 Atlantic stingrays in here. They just 4 males. They just kind of cruise around. We do have 2 green sea turtles, our resident turtles, in here as well.
Hopefully he's okay.
Oh, yeah. They're just hanging out. Yeah, this is their home.
Yeah.
But it's funny, you mentioned that they were all looking at us. And so when we were closed for 16 months, what we started noticing is when you walked past the aquarium, they would all rush to the window and they'd follow you. It's like they were bored.
We were the entertainment,
We
right?
were the entertainment, yeah. So I'd have my lunch down here occasionally, and they'd
Try
all
to keep
watch
them
me.
company.
Yeah, they'd all watch me eat.
All
That's pretty
right.
funny.
Now you do feedings here, right?
Yes. So every day at 12:30, we do our fish feed, and we do alternate our tank. So today, for example, is the fish feed is at Shipwreck. So you'll learn a little more about the habitat, learn a little more about the animals that are in here, and then we'll feed. We feed all 4 aquariums every day. Don't
Right.
worry. Our fish
course,
eat
of
every
course.
day.
But for the public.
We only do 1 presentation, and today is at Shipwreck, and tomorrow it'll be at a different tank.
Now, do the feedings, does the public go upstairs? Because I know originally that was going to be open too, but
Yeah, no, the upstairs is not open to the public, so and you really can't see much up there
Okay.
from it anyway. So everyone kind of stands around, and the food goes in, and we get to watch them eat.
okay. I heard you're going to be redoing the seawater system, or you said it's under construction right now. Can you expand on that and tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. We are very, very fortunate here at Gumbo Limbo. All of this water comes directly from the ocean. So it is piped in under A1A. We've got a system of pumps here on site, and it pipes it through all of our aquariums and then out to the Intracoastal Waterway, which means we do not have to make seawater. As you can see, our fish love it. So they get the exact same water that they would in their natural home. All the same micronutrients. If it's cold out there, it's cold in here. So they get all the same seasonal cues that they would in the wild. So as a result, our fish do all the same behaviors you would see in the wild. So they're very attuned to the seasons. We see them reproducing in here. So that's pretty
Okay.
exciting. I know. It's all very PG. They're fish.
Now, how
is the new
system different than what was here before?
So currently our system is very small, and it's been around for quite some time. So the new system is actually across the street in Red Reef Park, and they have 2 very large submerged pumps that are going to be pushing the water to our site instead of pulling it. It's just an engineering difference, but we're hoping it's going to about quadruple the amount of water
That goes through.
Right, here.
Right.
So we won't have to add any supplemental oxygen, which we do occasionally on a seasonal basis. We do have to add oxygen to the water. Yep. So we're excited to have more water.
That's fantastic. Better for the fish. Great.
Better for the fish, better for the turtles, better for everyone. This is our animal commissary where all our food is prepared each and every day for our animals. We go through thousands of pounds of frozen fish. It's all restaurant quality. It gets delivered every couple of weeks right here. And you can see in there we've got 2 commercial freezers, 2 commercial refrigerators. And on the back there is kind of an example of what we're feeding our resident sea turtles, as well as in our shipwreck aquarium, which is where our biggest animals are. Each tank has its individual diet, and it's based on how many animals in there, and it also depends on the season. Their diets change with the season.
Oh, does it really? Okay, that's interesting.
And we add vitamins to some of the bigger fish, and our bigger animals such as our tarpon, our barracuda, our stingrays. Those are what we call we target feed them. So 3 days a week we actually single them out and we individually feed them, so we can keep track of what they're eating. But for the most part, we do what we call a broadcast feed, where you just throw it in the tank.
Now, do you have one vendor that gives you all your fish, or do you have several, or how does that work?
So the fish we buy from one vendor. It's a frozen fish. They supply most of the large aquariums in the area.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
And then the greens, the veggies, we buy them from local farmers markets.
Okay, great.
So right next to our commissary is an exhibit that we put in, and it gives our visitors a really good peek into what it takes to feed our animals each and every day. So an example of, like I mentioned, target feeding. So this is individually feeding our eel, and some of our animals are vegetarians, so we make algae vegetable blocks, and we sink individual lettuce leaves down to the bottom for our green sea turtles. And some of our loggerhead sea turtle cane, we like to keep her jaw muscles very strong, so we freeze some of her food in a frozen block of ice, and that's how she eats it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Different needs for different fish, right?
Absolutely. So it's kind of a sneak peek into behind the scenes, what it takes to feed all these animals.
All right. So this is the FAU building, right, where they do a lot of their research. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So this entire building is part of the FAU Marine Lab. So this building is one of the FAU buildings. It's manned by FAU students, and we're standing in the visitors gallery, which is our Gumbo Limbo visitors can walk through here, and our team maintains the aquariums up here. But what they're doing down here is, I think they're on almost the 20th year of a study on sex determination in sea turtles. So sea turtles are unique in that the sex of the hatchling is entirely dependent upon the temperature that they incubate at. And what they're finding is, as our summers get hotter and hotter and hotter, there's been years where all of the hatchlings have been female.
Wow.
Yeah, so warmer sands create females, cooler sands males. Easy way to remember it is hot chicks and cool dudes. Yeah, not very PC, but it's an easy way to remember it. But we've had years where 100% of the turtles that have been tested have been female, which one male sea turtle can fertilize many females, but what we don't know is the long-term implications of how
long-term effects.
Yeah, and how long will that?
Well, especially since the temperature keeps rising too.
Exactly. So the way this is done is those 1,000 or so nests that we saw out on Boca's beaches, certain number of them are selected by the researcher at FAU, and as soon as the nest is laid, we put what they call a data logger, temperature data logger in it, and that records the temperature of the nest, I believe, every 15 minutes for the entire incubation period, which is about 6 weeks. Just before the turtles hatch, a cage is placed over the nest, so when the turtles hatch naturally, they hatch inside the cage so they can't run to the ocean. Researchers then go out and they randomly select 10 or 12 turtles, and they raise them here in the lab until they're about this big. So when they're born, they're only about that big. And the reason they have to do that is there is no way to tell from the outside if a turtle is male or female until they reach sexual maturity, which can be about 25 years from now.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So what Dr. Weineken is doing is raising them until they're just big enough that she can insert a little camera inside and look for the presence of testes or ovaries. And then that's what tells her if they're male or female.
And that's what the dots are on the back of the shells, right?
Actually, the dots help them tell them apart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so each turtle is assigned an individual number, and their weight is recorded, their size, their growth, how much they ate every day. And so they keep track of that throughout this whole time period they're in here. Once they do the surgery, they sew them closed, wait for them to recover, and then they get a free boat ride back out to the ocean where they would have been in the first place.
Wow. Okay, great. Well, I think this is invaluable research and data, and hopefully, we can gather some information as far as how effects it's going to be in the future with the heat and the temperature and so forth, and what we can maybe do to counteract that.
Yeah, it's just one more impact of climate change.
Yeah.
And
you mentioned the herpes virus downstairs, and so it's just
it's just such a big picture. It's almost overwhelming. And so a similar research is being done in Australia on the whole other side of the world, and they're seeing very similar results.
Okay.
So it's a worldwide
Oh, of course.
phenomenon.
Okay, so one of the favorites I know for us too as a family was always the seahorses, the tank. So you want to go a little bit about that?
Sure. So when anyone comes to the nature center, we offer them a chance for a scavenger hunt. They can look for all the plants and animals we have here and then get a prize at the end. But one of the more elusive things on the scavenger hunt is the seahorses. And what you'll find is you can stand in front of this tank and all 5 seahorses can be in plain sight and you still won't be able to see them.
The camouflage is incredible.
Yeah. Well, they don't move much. We call them truly terrible swimmers. In fact, that's what the tank is called, truly terrible swimmers.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Now, do you have different colors, or how does that work with what you pick for here? Because I know there's a yellow one there, but in the
Yeah,
tank.
so they're all the same species. They're just a limed seahorse, which is native. You'd find it in our areas. And no, their color varies naturally. I mean, some of them lean more towards the brown, some of them lean more towards the yellow. But I think we have a lot of anemones in here. We've got seagrass growing naturally, which is, we're pretty excited about that. This is turtle grass or thalassia, and not extremely easy to grow in an aquarium. And this is growing like crazy, so much so that we harvest it and we feed it to our turtles occasionally. Not every day, but
You may be onto something here. All right, so we're just finishing up our tour, and I did want to just give you a chance to kind of give kudos to the volunteers and people that help run this place, because without them, they're invaluable.
we could not run without our amazing volunteers. Gumbo Limbo has about 300 volunteers, and they give us between 20 and 30,000 hours of their time every year, it is incredible. It's the equivalent of about 10 to 15 full-time employees. So when I say we couldn't run without them, we really couldn't. Volunteers fill every need at the Nature Center. They welcome our visitors at the front desk. They prepare food for our animals. They educate at all of our tanks, assist with our field trips, assist with our water programs. We couldn't do what we do each and every day without our amazing volunteers, and they do it out of the goodness of their heart. We do have quite a few high school volunteers that are trying to get their community service hours, but for the most part, it's just members of the community that want to help out and want to be more involved.
And I personally knew a couple, and the longevity of them also. They stay. They love it. They stay. Very long term.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. It's truly humbling. I'm paid to be here. And what I like to say to our team every day is everybody wants to be here, but we get to be here. Don't forget that.
It's a privilege.
It is. It is truly a privilege to work here, and I am humbled by our volunteers that come and share their most precious resource, which is their time. But we're always looking for more volunteers. So if you've got some time.
All right. Well, thank you so much for showing us around today.
Absolutely.
The whole idea behind this was obviously to encourage more people. There's so many new residents here that aren't even aware of Gumbo Limbo. And I've been spreading the word. And you said that your attendance has gone up very significantly, right?
Yeah, I think we have been amazed at the attendance since we reopened. We got our final numbers in 2022. We had 245,000 people came through our doors, and that's over a 20% increase from the highest years we'd ever had. It's truly amazing to me how many people find us. And we're not new. Gumbo Limbo opened in 1984. I know you know our history.
Yeah.
Gordon Gilbert, our founder, was a science teacher at Boca High, and he opened this place as just a place for kids to come on field trips. And how we've expanded in almost the 40 years since then. It's really amazing, and I can't believe I get to work here and be a part of it.
Yeah, like I said, there's so many new residents, and when I tell them what's here, they're astounded. So hopefully more people will be watching this and coming and finding out about it. And I think it's something to have in the local area. Is just a great asset. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Okay. So I hope you really enjoyed that as much as I did. It was so much fun to do. And again, she went over and beyond. She's a great person, great manager, and really cares about the animals and the facility. I also wanted to go into a couple more areas that we didn't cover in the tour. And I have a couple of little videos of those. So again, we'll be back in a few minutes. Hi. Hi, and this is the gift shop here at Gumbo Limbo. Has a lot of different things. I know it's one of our favorites to come every year and get our Christmas tree ornaments. When you're here, take a look. It benefits the nonprofit and goes to all the things that Gumbo Limbo does. So here we are at the boardwalk, and this is one of my favorite places. It's a beautiful boardwalk. It's all in the shade. It's easy to walk. It's always cooler. And the biggest choice you have to make here is whether you want to go left or right or left, depending on which way you're looking at it. So again, it's a very enjoyable walk all through the mangroves, and it's again one of my favorite things to do here. Okay, next is going to be a walking tour. So, in addition to the actual facilities, they also have on the premises, on the property they have there, a beautiful walking trail that encompasses a butterfly garden. It brings you all the way down to the intercoastal. They have a tiki hut, they have some benches. They just have it's a beautiful nature walk to go through. So, I did a quick synopsis of that. So, stay tuned and watch that and enjoy it. Okay, so now comes the fun part. Okay, so um, for those of you that know Gumbo Limbo and those that don't, there used to be a 40-foot tower there. And this was again, she went through it in the interview. This was a favorite of all the people that have visited Gumbo Limbo over the years. And it is going to be rebuilt, like she mentioned, for ADA compliant tower so that everybody can enjoy it. So we were able, after some gentle persuasion, for her to release the new artistic and artist rendering designs to us. But with the caveat that these are obviously subject to change. They are still drafting it. And again, these are just very preliminary. So she doesn't want anybody to say, well, you said it was going to look like this. And I can understand that. So with that caveat, again, subject to change, here's some of the drawings that she gave to us. And you got a sneak peek because I don't think they've been released to anybody else. So this is a great treat for us. And I hope you like them. Okay, now I'm going to try to keep today's science and technology and art within the theme of marine life and sea turtles and so forth. But I did find something, and it's kind of interesting as far as science and technology. It's kind of like a social experiment, it states. This person was doing a social experiment, and it doesn't have to do with anything with marine biology or anything like that or turtles. But I just thought it just was so heartfelt, and I thought it kind of fit with a very caring and kind episode we're doing about sea turtles and caring about the environment and about how people can be very caring also. So I just wanted to play this just to start us off, and then we're going to continue on with the marine theme for the rest of this. So enjoy this little social experiment.
Thank you. Tranquillo, no, ho sempre avuto paura. Non ti preoccupare. Grazie.
Ha paura.
Ho un po' paura.
Stai tranquillo. Poi quando ti dico alzi il piede, alzi il piede, non ti faccio niente. Aspetta, papà, aspetta, non correre, stai fermo, aspetta.
Okay, and some good news is the sea turtles are actually here. They've actually come early this year. So, a couple of days ago, we had our first landing in the area of Boca del Rey and Highland Beach. It actually was in Del Rey, and it was a huge leatherback. And so we have our first sighting and we have our first nest. Now, a lot of people don't that are new don't know the rules and what you should be doing, and so I just make sure you stay away from the cordoned off area where they've put the stakes and the tape. Make sure you don't walk right near there. Those are eggs in there, and that's a nest. Also, if you see a sea turtle, you're not really allowed to pick it up. It's against the law, basically. And you have to you can watch it and make sure you give it its distance. Now, I myself have lived on the beach for many years, and I used to, when we first moved here, we stayed up a couple nights trying to get a look at sea turtles nesting. And you can still do that, but you have to stay at a distance and you can't shine your flashlights on them and so forth. You just have to be basically an observer. And it was one of the most fascinating things. And these mama sea turtles go through a lot to lay those eggs. And so anyway, I would definitely suggest doing that if you haven't done that before. It's a great experience. Additionally, as these turtles start to also throw the confusion off of the turtles coming on land to nest, we always make sure the lights are off towards facing the ocean, because it confuses the turtles coming on to nest, but it also confuses the turtles once they hatch. And I'm going to just share a little story. I did a lot of dig outs on turtle nests. I helped a lot of the turtle volunteers when I was vice mayor, and I was involved very heavily with the turtles. So I'm very familiar with this, and it's just one of the sad stories that kind of really made an impression on me, because a lot of people will say, well, what's one light? How is that going to hurt anybody? What's the big deal? So the story basically is that, again, when these turtles are coming on the shore to nest, in addition to when their hatchlings hatch, they go by the moonlight, right? So the moonlight is going to guide them back to the ocean, right? That's going to be their sign to go back to the water and get in the water. So they use the light of the moon to guide them back. And basically what happens is when there's an aura of light, whether it doesn't have to be a spotlight, just the aura of just light pollution in general, facing the beach, they go to that instead. So basically what happens is a lot of times the mother or the hatchlings will go up into the dune, trying to go to the light. And in the hatchlings case, the story I heard was they go into the dunes, and that's where they meet their demise, because once they get up into the dunes, there's predators, they get taken over by ants. It's just a horrible death. So again, we have to try to protect those mamas coming on shore, and we also have to protect those hatchlings. And so lights are out all the time during turtle season. So that's the reason why it's not about your individual light. It just adds to the glow, it adds to the aura of the light, and they mistakenly use that as the moon to guide them. So we have to really be careful about that. So I wanted to just share that story because, again, it's important. But great news again that Del Rey had its first nest. Congratulations. And we are on our way to a great turtle season. The next thing I wanted to play was, again, sometimes things happen in a certain way. And this was a clip of some people walking along the beach, and they saw a large turtle that was overturned. And again, you're not supposed to be touching them. I'm not promoting touching them. But obviously in emergency situations, you have to make decisions, right? So they made a decision to try to help this turtle and get it back on its way into the ocean. So I just thought this was a great inspirational kind of video to show. No, I do not promote touching turtles. But again, it's just kind of adding to how important a species these are. And we learned so much again from the interview today. They're very precious. So we have to try to do whatever we can to help them. So enjoy this video.
today. Unstoppable today. Unstoppable today. Unstoppable today. I'm unstoppable.
Okay, now we're going to go into art. So, this I thought was really kind of funny because this architect draws up this building and it's in the shape of a fish. And it actually was, from what I was reading, was a headquarters for some type of fish processing company or something. And so the architect draws up this plan, and then it shows what they actually built, okay, which is not really close to what the architect had put. But I just thought this is a great way to end with art, right? Architecture, and how important it is to kind of read the architect's plans when they're building a building. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was a pleasure for me. I love living on the ocean. I love being involved in this type of thing. And if you have any questions, you can write to me. Any suggestions? I'd love to hear feedback at In the Middle, BDH, Boca del Rey, Highland Beach. So it's In the Middle, BDH, @gmail.com. Thanks so much for joining me, and we'll see you next week.